My name is Mike Kell, and I'm running for the Windsor-2 House of Representatives, which is Weathersfield and Cavendish. I am running as a common sense man. My background will lead to what I'm talking about when I say common sense. Historically, we look at things in debate and consensus building. Right now, we have a supermajority in Montpelier. Anytime there's a supermajority, there's not a balance, there's not debate, there's not consensus building. And that's hard because it doesn't really represent who we are as Vermonters. Now, I came to Vermont in 2010. I retired out of public education. I was a school teacher, school counselor, high school assistant principal, and high school principal. During that time period, I have worked with a variety of different communities, stakeholders, if you will. And we've discussed and talked about exactly that, consensus building. I've been involved in a urban high school, a rural high school, and a suburban high school. And no matter what school I was in, the focus is always the same. What are the voices of our students? What are the voices of our parents and our community members? How do those voices impact decision making? And that's what we are as representatives. We're decision makers. And we have a responsibility to come to Montpelier and represent a consensus of what's happening in Windsor District 2. And with that, we face many crucial points this year, from affordability. When we look at the Affordable Health Care Act, there's a lot of fear-mongering going around that the Constitution may override the Affordable Care Act. Let's be realistic here. Let's talk common sense. We need to be able to have affordable health care. I'm one, again, we're not going to throw the baby out with the dirty bathwater. We're going to talk about what works in the Affordable Health Act, what works in the all-payer health care that came into existence around 2015, 2016. There are pluses and minuses to both of those. One thing that isn't, though, is the premiums that are going through the roof, 28%. And in Vermont, as in other places, 2/3 of healthcare is purchased through your employer. The other is individualized, and in Vermont, we have a monopoly of healthcare. Blue Cross Blue Shield has 90% of the healthcare, as MVP Albany has 10%. And so without going into the specific details, we lack the competition, the competitiveness. And a lot of the Affordable Care Act is more about ideology than serving the individual. Because if we're about serving the individuals, we would talk about making healthcare accessible to all. That is one piece that I will be looking at when and if I'm elected in Montpelier. The other piece we look at is our seniors. We're an aging population in Vermont. And as we're an aging population, how do we help aging Vermonters stay in their homes? The taxes, as we know, are going through the roof. They're a combination of things. One would be stop taxing all senior citizens with on their Social Security income. That's their retirement. They've paid into that. On the campaign trail, I've talked to senior citizens who are afraid they can't afford their house, whether it's a combination of property taxes, the taxes on their income. Many of them are accessing the food banks in our communities because they don't have access to food like they used to when they were working. So we need to think about affordability. And my thought around that is aligning with Governor Scott and Scott Milne, if he's successfully elected, and not taxing Social Security at all. I think that would be making an impact on that. I have been endorsed by the social workers National Social Workers Association of Vermont. And if you go to their website, there are some key pieces that they talk about there. I am about affordable childcare for parents who are working. I'm about affordability of living. And part of that is that $15 an hour. They support that $15 an hour work. That is good, but are we going to continue to tax the way we've been taxing in Vermont? We've talked about the Global Warming Solutions Act. We're talking about the carbon tax initiative that's coming up in January. And we're talking about how that will impact Vermonters. The carbon tax initiative is a consortium of 11 states. There were 12, but New Hampshire dropped out because it doesn't look really good for Granite Staters, as it won't for us in Vermont. Not a scare tactic, but we could be looking at 16 to 17 cents a gallon increase in tax. On top of that, the Global Warming Solution Act. What will that do to the culture of Vermont? We need to stop and we need to look at this thing through the lens of being common sense. That being said, Vermont is recreation. Vermont is snow machines. It's ATVs. It's hiking. It's wood fires. It's a lot of things that people come to Vermont for. They like that lifestyle. And if we're not careful with what we're doing, if we're not planned and purposeful in how we approach changes in Vermont, we are going to have a lot of backlash. So my approach to it is really being planned and purposeful, looking at what is exactly happening. What is it that we're saying? I think sometimes we do knee-jerk reactions to things. I won't go into details on the gun control laws, but I think that was a knee-jerk reaction. We need to step back and process and think. We need to know where we're going to go and how we're going to get there. We can't just put something in place and expect that to take us to where we want to go. You know, that old saying of shoot first and then aim? I mean, that's what we need to be able to do. We need common sense approach to these. And my approach as a high school principal, as a school board member, as a selectman member, has always been planned and purposeful. To have discussion, to just bring in people to hear from them what direction we need to go in. I, as an individual, can only focus on what I believe, but we are greater with numbers and voices, and we can present the best possibility for what Vermont will be like. Right now, I'm sorry, Chittenden County has the largest population. Burlington has 45,000 plus people based on the 2019 census. And Chittenden County drives Vermont. And I live in a rural community. I have 4 horses. I have chickens. I have 26 acres of mountainous land. And I'm sorry, I don't want people telling me how I can live on my property. I am a taxpayer. I am an economist. I am an environmentalist. Listen, climate change is real. It's impacting us. This past year, we've had a 4-degree increase in our temperatures. We're seeing more rain. What's that going to do to the snow? Those are the things that we need to be focusing on, but we need to focus on them as a community. We need to focus them on a planned and purposeful approach. I will be that voice in Montpelier that represents you, the constituents of Weathersfield and Cavendish, so that they know we will be heard. And that, if I'm elected, I want to have a town meeting shortly after, first week in December, because I want to meet the community. I want to bring people together, and I want to start looking at what are you saying? What's important to you? Along with that, my website will be active, and I will keep updates. What's happening in Montpelier? I want to be able to update that on bills, on legislative pieces, so I can hear. I would like to have a team of people in our two towns that I can lean on, and they're the voices that will keep me in line. I'm also looking at having office hours so that people can come and meet me and talk with me. I want to be available. As a high school administrator, I was always available for the parents, for the students, for the teachers, for the custodians, for the community. That is what I plan on doing if I am selected here to be your representative. I want to again thank Okemo Valley for televising this and the other candidates. And I hope you turn out and you vote. That's the key, voting. Thank you very much.